There we go. Okay, why don't we start with Haley Johnson and pre-law?
Perfect. Hi, everyone. As Tomas mentioned, my name is Haley Johnson, and I am the new pre-law advisor. I was just put in at the beginning of the semester, is kind of when everything got finalized. One thing I wanted to mention is that your students are going to stay with your majors. Even if they're pre-law, they are going to be with you all for advising, because pre-law is not a major. Law schools don't want pre-law to be a major, and they really want students to have a broad range of interests and variability in the programs that they complete. So no matter what your major or area that you advise for is, you're probably going to have a student interested in law school at some point. That's okay. That's why I'm there, because what we're going to end up doing is having pre-law info nights during the school year, because a lot of the information that pre-law students need to know, every single one of them need to know it. It's not very specific information. It's mostly generalized information. And so we're going to be doing pre-law info nights. Me and then one of our professors in our criminal justice program, who is an attorney, will be starting to run those in the spring semester. If you have a student that is interested in law school and they have questions, please send them to our website, especially once we get those pre-law info sessions up and running. Those are going to be where students get their information, kind of like global learning, where they do the study abroad 101 first, and then they can meet with an advisor. That's what we're doing. So they're coming to a pre-law information night first, and then they're going to, if they have further questions, they can set up an appointment with me. And so I'm going to share my screen. We have our new website here that is just brand new created. And it is for anyone that's interested in law school. We would like them to fill out this pre-law interest form, and that is so I can add them to a student group. And if once I add them to the student group, it's going to be available, kind of like Finish in 4 is available on their AAR. We're working to get pre-law in there, so that way, no matter what, you can always know that this student is interested in pre-law, and you can always direct them to this website. So have them fill out this pre-law interest form. It just asks some very general information about what their major is, because we want to start getting data on where our pre-law students are coming from, what majors they're most interested in, and then what academic level, because the questions and the information that they need vary wildly by academic levels, because freshmen need very little information about law school. Seniors need a lot of information about law school. So this is our website. We also have our frequently asked questions page that was created by Dr. Lee, who is our criminal justice professor who has gone to law school. She's our attorney. She created this frequently asked questions. So if students have any questions about the LSAT, law school in general, writing a personal statement, it's all in our frequently asked questions. All of our info nights will be on our pre-law event calendar. Right now, it's not up and running. We're still waiting for OIT to put the calendar in here, but that's where it's going to be. And then this is our pre-law timeline. And this is where students can see what they should be doing each year of their undergraduate. So in their freshman year, they need to choose a major that interests them. In their sophomore year, they want to stay on track for graduation, working on their resume. We are working with career services. They are helping us develop a really robust resume program for these students. Junior year, they need to start preparing for the LSAT. Senior year, they need to have a list of law schools that they're wanting to enter or wanting to actually apply for. So each year is on here. We are constantly revamping this timeline to make sure it applies to our Boise State students. But all of the information they need to know is going to be on this pre-law website. So send them here first before you send them anywhere. And if you do have someone that has a question that you're not sure the website can answer, have them email this pre-law advising email, not my personal email. It helps me keep everything in one place, so I can make sure I'm tracking who is reaching out. Sometimes it gets lost in my personal inbox. And so if students have questions, they can go to that pre-law advising website and then also the pre-law advising email address. One thing I do want to know is that Kobe, they have their own pre-law advisor, but they can fill out this interest form. I will be directing them over to the pre-law advisor in Kobe, Dr. Jeff Lingwall. We've been in contact and he knows that students that are doing Kobe will go to him. Let me make sure I have everything. Oh, one thing I do, once they get on that interest, once they fill out the interest form and get in that student group, they will get information to their email about when they should be applying for, when they should be registering for the LSAT, what other things that they need to do. So it's a really great way for students to keep informed onto what they need to do for pre-law. Another thing they can all do is join the Pre-Law Society, and that is a student-run organization that will help them make contacts and get informed by other students who are going through the law school application process. The Pre-Law Society is a super helpful thing. I did want to mention we had our law school fair last week or 2 weeks ago. It was really successful. We had about 20 law schools from across the country come, and we had about 40 students that were interested. They made it to the student union on that really cold, snowy morning. So it was a success. And I think that is all. Does anyone have any questions about pre-law?
Haley, I have a couple of questions that
Yes.
they might be related. First, does admissions know about the interest form, and is that part of their communication to students who have indicated interest in pre-law?
Yeah, so they're going to continue using the pre-law undeclared. And then what I'm going to do is, as students are admitted as that pre-law undeclared, I will be reaching out to them, giving them the interest form and telling them to pick a major with degree requirements. So it is something they're aware of, but they are going to continue using that pre-law undeclared.
But that doesn't mean that those students will have filled out the interest form necessarily. No. Okay. And then maybe related to that is, does having filled out the interest form, are those students automatically added to a formal student group, or who
Yes.
manages the student group?
I will be managing that student group, and as soon as I get the interest form, they're going in that student group.
Are students who indicate pre-law at the admission stage but did not fill out the interest form in that student group?
I'm going to be putting them in there, yeah.
Okay, so that's a manual process then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, student groups, me and Tim actually had a meeting a little while ago, and there's not a really good automatic process yet. And so we went around and around in circles trying to figure out how we can navigate this, because I mean, how easy would it be if we could just put them all in one major, but that's
Right.
not how law works. And so, so this is kind of our workaround, is doing a very manual student group. And that's where we're at right now.
And then one last question, sorry,
Yeah.
related to that, and of course, thinking like a cat herder, how do you know when to remove a student from the student group? When they haven't had any contact with you, when they're not doing any of the activities?
So that student group is basically just going to be a way for me to contact them. So if they contact me and they're like, I don't want to go to law school anymore, I will take them off. Otherwise, I'm going to keep emailing them till they graduate.
Any other questions for Haley? Or did I take up all the questions?
That was perfect. Yeah, the most important thing you all need to know is that the law school admissions process, it seems really scary, but I'm learning it's not. The law schools that came and met with me a couple weeks ago for that law school fair are so helpful, and they really want students to apply and come to their law schools. So I'm getting a lot of help from specific law schools, and we're hoping to create a really good pre-law program for students so they can successfully navigate the process.
And newsflash, a lot of law school graduates don't become lawyers.
Yes. Yes. It's very, yeah. I mean, we have two that I've talked to that are professors here. So, and there's many more. So yeah, so you're going to have some engineers. It sounds crazy, but you're going to have some engineers that want to go to law school. And so, and it's great. Honestly, they love that. So, don't be scared if someone's like, I want to go to law school. And you're like, I have no idea. I've never talked to anyone about law school. That's okay. Tell them to fill out the interest form. You can talk to them about their degree requirements. I'll talk to them about their law school stuff. Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Haley. Okay, next up, we have Caroline Anderson and Hunter Hagan to talk with us about study abroad options.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm just going to set up my screen share. And all right, so I'm here to talk about study abroad opportunities for Boise State students. Just in case I can't get through everything, I will send a follow-up email and you can always reach out to me. So in terms of who we are, I'm going to be the main one presenting. So my name is Caroline, she, her, hers. I'm a University Relations Coordinator for USAC. I'm actually based in Denver, but I work with all of the schools in Idaho, and I'm going to talk more about USAC in just a little bit. But I want to have my colleague Hunter pop in to say hi.
All right, hi, I'm Hunter, and I'm the Education Abroad and Exchange Advisor at Boise State, and located in the Center for Global Engagement.
All right, so for my contents, I'm just going to talk briefly about benefits of study abroad, about my organization, and also how we can help you and your students. So I think a lot of us in this room are familiar with this, but students really do stand to gain a lot from study abroad, especially as we talk about our increasingly globalizing worlds. I think for a lot of students, this could be their first time to get to travel abroad and might be their only chance to truly live abroad for this amount of time and be able to immerse themselves in a culture. But from an academic perspective, we know it's a very high impact practice. There's research showing that students who study abroad have higher retention and completion rates, higher GPAs. And I think language learning is one of the most traditional ways to go and reasons to go, but there's so much more students stand to gain, developing cross-cultural communication skills, intercultural competencies, et cetera. And I think the kind of globalized perspective they can have in their coursework abroad will really complement what they're already studying here at Boise State. So it's a great fit into their academic career. And we also have evidence to show that this is really great and beneficial for first-gen and minoritized students. Obviously, access is an issue and definitely something we work to address, but lots for students to gain. Also from a professional perspective, getting to do maybe volunteering, research, or internships abroad and kind of building that network, hopefully to stand apart on their applications. And a lot of personal growth. I think one thing students are reporting is that they're able to better tolerate ambiguity, which feels very relevant for our world in this pandemic. But lots of other great things, challenging their own ethnocentrism, expanding their worldview, et cetera, et cetera. And then for USAC, so USAC stands for University Studies Abroad Consortium. We're a nonprofit study abroad program provider. We actually, our first inaugural program was in San Sebastian, which is where this photo was taken. It was a Basque Studies program in collaboration between Boise State as well as the University of Nevada, Reno. Our founder is actually a faculty member, or since then retired faculty member of Basque Studies. So we're very university-based, but now today we have a consortium of 35 core members. Boise State is one of our strongest relationships. And so, USAC is one of Boise State's preferred program provider, or the most preferred program provider. About 70% of Boise State students do study abroad with us on a USAC program. And if you're familiar with Korean Hinke, she is actually on our board of directors with a permanent seat. But now we've since grown since a couple faculty-led programs to over 50 programs in about 25 countries. One thing to note is we used to be a part of University of Nevada, Reno, but in 2017, we officially separated as our own nonprofit, but we have a lot of strong connections. You and our faculty vet our coursework and things like that. So as just some of the things that kind of make us different in the space, we're really well known for affordability. In fact, there's a lot of our programs that will be students can save money going abroad, low-cost locations, but also we're really committed to access, and that's something we prioritize with our program fees. We're also known for having non-traditional locations or kind of off the beaten path. So what this could look like is instead of students going to Paris, they might go to Lyon or Po. The idea being that this gives students a much more immersive experience, a much more authentic experience, being outside of the very tourist-heavy centers. We still have some large cities in our program portfolio, but we have a lot of small to moderate-sized ones, which can also contribute to the low cost when students aren't going to be in some of those larger cities. We also offer over 20 scholarships, and Boise State has unique scholarships available given their affiliate status in our consortium. In terms of the academics, we really do focus on offering high quality academic programs. That's priority number one, is to make sure this complements a student's academic career. So we kind of have two different program models. I won't go into too much about that, but for one model, we control the curriculum ourselves, and that's where you and our faculty vet our coursework. We meet the standards of our schools of record, which also include University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and University of Idaho. But another exciting option is students can participate in something kind of similar to a direct enroll or exchange. So essentially, they will take classes alongside local students in English. And many of these international universities are AACSB accredited or ABET agreement universities. From there, I will note we do have a variety of terms. So if semester or year-long isn't feasible for your students, we also have January term and 2 summer sessions. Students will earn Boise State credits on these programs. And we are actually, I think, quite well known for our language tracks. So we have some programs where students can take intensive language and potentially earn up to 2 years worth of language credits in 1 semester. I'm actually a USAC alum, and this is a program option I opted into. From there, I would say we often consider ourselves university-based because we are always located at a local host university abroad. And maintain really strong connections, and this gives students access to all of the regular university activities and opportunities on campus. I kind of noted this before with benefits of study abroad, but we do offer a lot of experiential learning opportunities. So this could look like service learning, volunteer teaching. We recently introduced this really exciting new internship option in Khon Kaen, Thailand. So students can either do kind of a medical style like shadowing internship, or we even have a research assistantship. So other things they can add to their academic experience. And we do offer coursework for most majors. And again, a lot of that is available in English. And we're also very proud of our staff. We have resident directors on our programs. So they're kind of the main leadership and experts. Many of them have been with us for 15 to 20 years, so we have strong relationships there. So just in terms of how we can help you, I wanted to make sure you're aware of kind of our comprehensive student support, what we do with students before, during, and after their study abroad. So I don't need to go diving in too deeply into our different teams and structures, but just know we are here to help reduce your advising load. You can send students to talk to us about academics, relevant coursework, even finding a program. And then, of course, definitely want to send those prospective students to the Global Learning Opportunities Office on campus. So we're kind of both there for that prospective student phase. And of course, once they transition into when they've officially picked their program. And then directly for you, so I'm basically the main contact for anyone at Boise State. You're welcome to reach out to me for any kind of questions. I'm primarily staff facing, but I also do work with prospective students. So from the academic side, we're able to provide syllabi, course equivalencies, even a transcript guide, so kind of translating how we recommend those courses to come back, which of course these will count as Boise State credit. We also support curricular integration and mapping efforts. This could even look like if you're, let's say, in English, you're working for advising English majors, I can help recommend programs that would be a good fit. From there, I also do a lot of meetings. So I'll meet with offices across campus, as well as, doing student-facing type things. And we do have a newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for that, let me know, and I'll give you more info about new courses we offer, program changes. But we also do a lot with student outreach and promotion. So this could look like flyers. We have USAC ambassadors, which are essentially student alum, USAC student alum that will talk with Boise students. We do social media, talk about scholarships. In terms of virtual and campus visits, I was actually at campus twice this year. So things like fairs, classroom visits. I think one of the most popular info sessions I do is about how to make study abroad affordable, and also maybe finding what are the best USAC programs for certain majors. So last thing I want to show you is just an example of a flyer I made. I took some screenshots, but these can show cost comparisons between our program and Boise State tuition, etc. So these examples are not all of our programs, but they show the entire out-of-pocket cost for students, including tuition, housing, meals, airfare, etc. And then this one is what we call our interactive budget sheet. So it's a really great tool for students to plug in different numbers to get a more accurate sense of what their all-in costs would look like. And do note that federal, state, and institutional aid does apply to our programs. And those are the main things I have for you. So do let me know if you have any questions. Again, I'm Caroline, and Hunter is the one who works at Boise State's GLO office. All right, I'm going to end my show. All right, any questions? Did I manage to end early here?
Caroline, I have one really basic question. What's the
Sure.
most common piece of feedback or reaction that you get from students who've taken part in the program?
I think a lot of them is just, it feels transforming to their life. It's something that students will never forget. People talk about, they have this with homestays, they have a connection to families abroad, the kind of friends they make while they're there, that kind of, immersive experience. It's not something they can get here. So it's just that unique takeaway and the kind of confidence they build from the programs.
Great, thank you.
I have a question as well. Are Boise State students allowed to participate in any of the program offerings that USAC has, or is it only a limited one with that partnership?
Good question. So for us, Boise students can participate in all of our programs.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions for Caroline or Hunter? Okay, thank you, Caroline, Hunter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, Gail Shuck will talk with us about English writing assessment.
Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, and can you hear me okay first? Yep. Okay, awesome. If you don't know who I am the Director of English Language Support Programs, and I am now in the Linguistics Department, which is new. There is no more English department. So that's where I was for 21 years. And so what I'm here to talk with you about is, and I'm going to share my screen. How placement works and sadly doesn't work for multilingual students. The overview statement is that identifying students' English proficiency levels for academic writing purposes and academic reading purposes is so complicated that it's very hard to figure out who actually needs a little more support and who doesn't. No one across the United States has really truly figured it out. What I am going to share with you is something that's a little bit alarming, but also something that I can't go into too much detail about because it is so complex. But essentially what I'm going to do is talk about why the English writing assessment is where you should direct students who you know learned English as a second or third language or more than that. Actually, I'm going to go back to that. I have this URL that I'm going to actually put in the chat right now. Hang on.
We do not have a chat, but
Oh,
you
you
can
don't? Oh,
send that
that's
over
right.
email.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, you did say that. So I will send you this afterwards, and this is hyperlinked in here and you'll be able to see it. Okay. Everyone who is an advisor, I believe, now knows about the Write class as a placement instrument. The key thing that I want you to understand is what is on this slide, that the Write class can directly place students into 101 plus or into 101. There is a 101M option for multilingual, but it can't place students directly into that. So what it does is at a certain fork in the road, it will send students to the link to the English writing assessment, which was designed with multilingual students in mind to try and identify that very sticky issue that I was telling you about. But the English writing assessment often gets students sent to it, or they click on the wrong link during the advising module or something. We get a lot of monolingual English speakers who do the English writing assessment too. About half of the people who tested using the English writing assessment in the last year, were native English speakers. And so we don't worry about them from a multilingual side of things. However, we can still place them because we have a writing sample and we have other questions that we ask into English 101 or English 101 plus. The AWA can place people into 101M, and at a certain point, they can go directly to the Write class and finish their placement there. But if they finish the placement because they have a language other than English within their repertoire, we can still place them into English 101 or 101P. So how do we do that? We ask, is English your own? We ask, one of the questions is how many, what languages do you use on a daily basis? And if they answer, English is my only language, we send them directly over to the Write class. If they say, I almost never use a language other than English, it could be that they grew up here and are more proficient in English, and they use English with their siblings, but they use another language with their parents. That may mean that we need to get a little more information from them. So if they answer this way, I almost never use a language other than English, we will ask further questions and have them do a writing sample. Some of those questions are, at what age did you arrive in the United States? That's not necessarily, like, these are very blanket questions. We've had students from Nepal and India and Nigeria who are totally fluent in English, and so it doesn't matter that they arrived in the United States at age 19. So this is why this is all tricky, but it gives us a little bit of information. We ask them what languages they use when reading, that we ask them what languages they use with their elders in their community, and we have them write 2 very short essays about what it is to be bilingual and why it's useful for them. Tell us a story about it. So based on the sum total of those things, we can place a student into English 101M, which is 6 credits, 101P or 101. We have been looking at data, and as I said, I'm not going to share all of it. There are a lot of unanswered questions that remain, but we looked at the students for the last year who did their English placement through the EWA, and also students who did their English placement through the right class. And we, on the right class, as some of you may know, English actually, the question is, or the statement is, English is my home and heritage language. And if they say no, then that means, okay, they are potentially a multilingual student, right? If they say that they did not attend both middle and high school in the United States, then there's a separate path. It doesn't yet send them directly to the EWA, but what we found out was people who answered that English is not their home language and that they did not attend both middle and high school, the students in the right class group, only 16 students answered this way and then got sent to the EWA. A lot of students answered yes to one, but not both. And so we've got, but we were able to look at the students who listed English as a language another language besides English as their native language. And we were able to look at the people who answered, sorry, I'm pointing at my own screen, that doesn't help you. English is not my home language. And so this question, I know that I'm like conflating a couple of detail points of data points here, but what I want to share with you is that this wedge out of this pie is only 16 students out of 187. 187 students we found were multilingual by the definition of a second language or more learner of English. So not native English speakers. There are plenty of multilingual students who are also native English speakers, but we're trying to exclude that group. We are looking at the 187 total, that's the whole circle. Only 16 of them got sent to the EWA, which seems really small. It's quite possible that all 171 of these students in blue are actually quite fluent in English, but we're finding some stuff that's a little bit alarming. And this is what I can't really share with you because the questions are so sticky. We do know that of this blue circle, the blue section of the circle, that is students who were placed via the right class and are multilingual. About half of them never enrolled in a first-year writing class at all. And the other half, we started to look at, okay, what were their grades in their first-year writing class? And of those, about 40% have a DF or W, which is an enormous number. So if this is 1 year's worth of students, then if 40% of the students who are being placed via the right class are failing, or at least are academically not successful, then we're missing something along the way. What that something is, I can't tell you yet because we don't know yet. I do have a meeting with Nicole Brunn Mercer, who's the Associate Director of English Language Support, and a meeting with her and the first year writing former directors, but who are the key owners essentially of the right class, at Heidi Estrom, Dawn Shepard, and Sam Sturman. So we have a meeting with them coming up after break where we're going to share this stuff and we're going to try and talk about where we can intervene. We can't know yet where we can intervene, but we know that it doesn't look good. So at the very least, going back to this slide, and then I will be done. Knowing that the right class cannot place students directly into English 101M, which is heavily supportive of students' language development, but knowing that the English writing assessment can place the accidentally sent over monolingual English speakers, then the English writing assessment is more likely to be the place that you should send students if you suspect that English was not their first language. Then send them to the English writing assessment. And I'll stop there and I will take questions if you have them.
Gail, what advice would you give advisors to determine whether they believe or not a student's first language is English?
Right. That too is tricky. But I think that sometimes it's particularly obvious because they don't sound, and I don't mean pronunciation, I mean that their grammar structures as they're speaking don't sound like they are native English speakers. They struggle to get sentences out, or they say things in a way that no native English speaker would say. It is tricky. Yeah.
I asked
I'm not
because
gonna say
I've
it's
been
easy.
asked if English was my first language.
Oh dear. Okay. Right. And in fact, my entire dissertation was about the ways in which people make assumptions about who is a native English speaker. And then I wrote a follow-up article on race and how race is often seen as somehow conflated with language ability. And it's, yeah, it's like I said, tricky is kind of the only word that I've got for it right now. It's problematic, let's say. But if you have any questions about it, you can always send students to me. You can ask me what you think, and then you can give a student a different kind of direction or answer or something like that. And my associate director is also happy to answer those kinds of questions too. She's great. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Any other questions for Gail? Okay, thank you very much. Up next, Regina Jenkins and an update on summer programs.
Hey all, thank you. So I just wanted to touch base on summer sessions, go over a couple upcoming dates, definitely answer any questions that you may have. So the schedule will be live for students to view on December 9th. And then enrollment in summer sessions begins February 21st, which is that Tuesday after President's Day. This past summer, we had over 10,000 students who participated in our summer programs. Again, overall, students who participated in summer were more likely to successfully complete a class than they were in fall or spring. So our summer success rates are great. This year we did a survey. We had about 800 respondents, really trying to get at the modality students want in summer, the length of session, and a few other things. We've made some strategic changes, I think. You'll see some classes that moved from 3 weeks into 5 or 7. And then some classes that we've been trying to get into longer sessions for a while, that's happened. So like Chem 111, Chem 112 moved from 5 weeks into 7, which I think will be a great change. Overall, students seem to want online classes in the summer. I know a lot of you have had concerns about the 3-week, which is so condensed. I was pleased to see over 60% of students who enrolled in a 3-week class said they liked the pace and they would enroll again. And then about 12% said they would not choose to take a 3-week class again. So I think, as you know, when you're advising students and they're really interested in those 3-week classes, it's probably best to only take one. And then just, you know, as I know that you do, kind of chat about how intense it is, and that if you're trying to work a full-time job might not be the best choice. But again, students who choose that have a tendency to do really well in them. What else? So I know I've reached out to some of you and I'll continue to do so. I would love to attend any department advising meeting that you have to sort of talk more specifically about your majors and their summer needs. And then I just wanted to see if you all have any questions. The tuition discounts continuing for this year. So for students in our campus-based sections, so who are not in a self-support or online fee program, if they are non-resident students, it's over a 50% tuition discount. For our resident students, it's about 20%, and that's based off the per credit spring and fall fees. So that's continuing, and in summer 2022, we continue to see more non-resident out-of-state student enrollment. And then I see, Faye, you have a question? I think.
Faye, your hand is raised. It also looks as though Faye's screen is frozen, so I'm not sure we're going to get a question from Faye.
Does anyone else have any questions? No, I feel like I'm a fast talker.
Okay, that's fine. And anyone can follow up with you over email, and please feel free to send out any more information to the invitees in this meeting.
Perfect. Thank you all. And yes, please, any feedback you have or questions, send them my way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, you all know that some students will go on probation. You all know that some of those students will be dismissed, and you know that many of the students who are dismissed will seek reinstatement sooner or later. And there is a process, and our office is intimately involved in the process. And Lindsay is here to talk about the new process for reinstatement.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who I haven't met, Lindsay Cassidy, Assistant Director for Academic Development and Recovery. Want to just talk through some updates and changes to the appeal for immediate or early reinstatement process for students who are academically dismissed. Like apparently every policy here at the university, there is an appeal that students can engage with. And through this appeal process, students are effectively appealing the sit out period that they are required by our probation and dismissal policy. So instead of sitting out, they're requesting to return either immediately or early.
So sorry, before you start, want to make super clear, because this can be unclear to not only some new advisors, but also advisors who've been here for a little bit. If they're given early reinstatement, that does not negate their dismissal.
Correct.
They were dismissed, and
Yes.
it counts towards their dismissal limit.
Correct. There's no
Got it.
appeal of the dismissal. You can just appeal the sit out period required by the policy. Correct. I will share kind of what the new form is going to look like, but I want to talk about a few key updates to the process. So the original process, or the process that I inherited 3 years ago, required students to meet with an academic development and recovery advisor if they were interested in appealing for immediate reinstatement. And that's still true. Students in that meeting with us needed to fill out the academic appeal plan of study. ADR advisors were required then to draft a rationale of whether they supported the appeal, whether they did not support the appeal, or supported the appeal with reservations. That is where the major change is now happening. ADR will no longer be providing a rationale around whether we support, do not support, or support with reservations. The form has shifted so that students are really going to need to provide a much more comprehensive plan, rationale to submit to the committee for why they should be immediately reinstated. They will still need to meet with us in order to kind of talk through that process, understand what it means to be a reinstated student, cetera, et cetera. But that's one major change in the process. Students will also need to meet with their major specific academic advisor and articulate a course plan to the University Appeals Committee. This was not required through the immediate reinstatement process previously. However, as you all know, reinstated students through the traditional process are required to meet with their major specific advisor. So we're hoping to more closely align kind of with that process. And the hope there is that students can really have an informed conversation about what it means moving forward within their major following an academic dismissal, strategic repeats, strategic course combinations, et cetera, et cetera. So I will just share my screen really quickly so we can take a look at what the form looks like now. So students will need to, is everybody able to see the plan of study for a reinstatement appeal? Thumbs up. Yes, okay, great. So this used to be called the Academic Appeal Plan of Study. Now it's the Plan of Study for Reinstatement Appeal. Slight shift there in language. So you can see it's a much more comprehensive form. It's 3 pages. Students are required to identify their academic goals, action plan to meet those goals, campus resources that they plan to utilize in order to set them up for success. This is where advisors come in consultation with your academic advisor, outline your planned course schedule. Weekly time commitments. We also want students to identify their active registration holds. One of the things that we find is that students want to come back, but they have monumental past due balances, student conduct hold, lots of other things that need to be addressed that take a lot of time. And then identifying the concerns or difficulties that they believe negatively impacted their academic performance, and then their rationale. This will require student signature, academic advisor signature, and ADR advisor signature. I will share this out. The registrar currently is working on finalizing this form, making sure that it is accessibility compliant with OIT. So I will send out kind of that updated form. There will also be a website that does outline this process in a little bit more detail. One other thing to note, that students who are seeking immediate reinstatement will no longer use the standard university academic appeals form. There is a separate form specifically for appeals for immediate or early reinstatement. It effectively just gets rid of all of the other stuff on that form and asks the students to articulate whether it's immediate, early, or a reinstatement following a 3rd dismissal. So we know that this will be a little more time intensive for students. Time is short between the fall and the spring semester. And that's kind of where proactive conversations with students comes in. We will gladly meet with students as soon as they are concerned that a dismissal is on the horizon, and we can start this process with them. So please refer them to us as early as possible. They can't actually submit to the appeals committee until the dismissal is finalized and they are notified by the registrar, which happens during the holiday break. So they're really looking at early January. But given how much time this is probably going to take for them, if you have students coming to you, please get them connected to us as well. Questions? Anything I missed, Chelsea, Caitlin, Tomas?
I was going to say things that won't be changing is the student still has to write a letter and include documentation of extenuating circumstances. It's just the forms that they fill out that will change.
So, surprise, I have a question.
Sure.
What is the rationale for us not providing a rationale for reinstatement or not?
Sure. I mean, as advisors, it puts us in a really uncomfortable situation with students to say that we either support or don't support their rationale. I think on principle, all of us sort of feel that, generally speaking, the sit-out period is important and it is beneficial for most students after they've had several semesters of academic difficulty. And in it can be really uncomfortable to tell a student that we don't support their appeal, but those students still are within our scope of support as a dismissed student, and it can really create for an uncomfortable advisor-student relationship there. And we also want the burden to be on the student to really demonstrate. We often don't know as much. We're meeting with that student for the first time, oftentimes through this process. And in a 1 hour meeting, it's really hard for us sometimes to articulate whether we think they can be successful or not, in large part. So putting the ownership on the student, I think, is the most important kind of shift in that process.
Thank you. I think what you just mentioned was critical. The ADR advisors, for all the support that they can provide, often are in the previous process, we're being asked to distill the relatively little amount that they know about the student and determine their fate. And in our opinion, that put a little bit too much of a burden on a single advisor to determine a student's continued enrollment at Boise State, when there were a lot of other factors, particularly the ones that the student themselves should bring into the decision. So I appreciate you talking about the new process. Any questions that aren't from me? Sorry. Okay, Lindsay, thank you. People will be, I guess, waiting for the form once it's available.
Yes, my hope is that it will be forthcoming in the next couple of days, and we will include it. We have a AASC newsletter queuing up, right, Matt? I'm kind of beating you to the punch there, but it will be included there as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
I guess I have one quick question. And maybe this is something that I should already know how to do, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What is the best, most efficient way to identify students that are at risk of dismissal? Like, is there a report that you would recommend running, or like?
Sure. So only students who are on probation
Mhm.
can be dismissed, as we know. I am happy to supply. There are reports in like My Insights that are our probation status reports. We also have an enrolled student report that we use for our newsletters. Happy to share that out to anybody that's interested, if you want to like specifically target any of those students that are your advisees. I have to check and see. I don't think our enrolled probation status student report has, we have major on there. I don't know if we have a signed advisor, so that would potentially be the.
Okay, well, I mean,
yeah,
at least for our college, major and advisor tracks pretty closely.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Cool. Yeah, happy to send that out if need be.
And we will also send out a newsletter to enrolled on probation students 3 times a semester. And in the final one, which will go out right after Thanksgiving, there is a message in there of like, if you are concerned about meeting the GPA requirements, please reach out to your advisor or an ADR advisor as soon as possible. So we can get kind of rolling on that. And a good percentage of students read that newsletter, not all though. So I wish there was a clearer way to determine who was potentially in danger of getting dismissed after being on probation, but the closest we can really get is who is enrolled in on probation.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Up next, Mackenzie Johnson, James Gibson. I don't think Mark Wheeler, I wasn't able to see him in the, oh, there you are. Awesome, lower corner. Sorry, I missed you down there. We'll be presenting on online Idaho opportunities for Boise State students. Take it away.
Mark, I didn't see you. Did you want to jump in first? Did you want us to take it?
Let me kick it off really quickly. Hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mark Wheeler. I'm the Dean of Extended Studies at Boise State University. Help facilitate a lot of the online offerings here at Boise State. Quick update. A couple of years ago, the State Board of Education, in conjunction with the university and college presidents in Idaho, envisioned a one-stop shop for online offerings in the state of Idaho. So people, including college students, could go to one place and look at all the online courses and programs that were available anywhere in the state and be able to conveniently pick and choose from those courses to be able to complete their course of study on time. So if there was a course here at Boise State that they missed out on and they needed another opportunity to take it, they could find that online offering, maybe from Idaho State or Lewis Clark State College, register for it on this one-stop shop platform and quickly add it to their schedule. That platform today is known as Online Idaho. And work on developing that platform has progressed to the point that we want to share with you where we're at today and what we think it could be used for as far as students and advisors. So Mackenzie, do you want to take it from there?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Johnson, and I'm the Online Idaho Coordinator for the state. I also work at CEI in instructional technology, so I kind of do shared between those two institutions. And I apologize for my dog in the background. He's very upset today. But I'm excited to talk about Online Idaho. This is what I've been hired to do mostly as a project manager between the 8 institutions and getting everyone on board with helping to share these courses and make them accessible to students. Today with us, we also have James Gibson, who is really one of the co-founders and leaders of our vendor Quotely. So Quotely is who runs Online Idaho. You may not have a lot to do with that. You don't necessarily need to remember that component, but we'd be happy to share what really the platform looks like, how students might use it, but more importantly, because we do have a short time together today, sharing the resources that you can access as advisors to say, what is this? How do I use it? What happens if there's a problem? We have all of that available to you. So the other piece that I want to say before we jump into that is it's possible that you may not have heard about Online Idaho yet. It's possible that you have, and that's intentional. We haven't done any marketing yet. This hasn't been heavily marketed to students because we want advisors really to kind of see the need in their students and recommend this as just one of the options. As the state board likes to talk about, it's just a tool in your tool belt to help students be successful. As a previous advisor in Washington and in Idaho, I would have used this tool if it was available to me, because I did have students that couldn't graduate on time, right? They needed that one course, and man, if there had just been one other way that they could have accessed that, that would have been amazing. So I would like to turn over to James to introduce himself a little bit. And then Mark, if you'd like, I'm happy to share my screen and kind of go over the website a little bit as well as the Canvas shell. So James, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Well, very, very nice to meet you all. Mine is Alicia. I'm sorry. I'm in East Coast time and it's been a long day. As Mackenzie said, my name is James Gibson. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Quotely. I'm joining you from Gainesville, Florida. Which is home of the University of Florida. My wife is an advisor and faculty member at UF, so I have a lot of love for advisors. And as Mackenzie said, part of the reason that Quotely exists is to try to provide tools for folks like you to help you better serve students. So very nice to meet you all, and here to support the folks in Idaho and Mackenzie and Mark and the state in this initiative. So Mackenzie, I'll turn it over to you and happy to answer any questions that you want to kick to me.
Fantastic. I believe I have screen sharing capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. And it comes up. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Awesome. Cool. So this is the homepage for Online Idaho. Really the website there. 1 second, I'll close my door with my dog in the background. Yeah. Okay. So the website for Online Idaho is online.idaho.edu. Very simple to remember. And right now, this website has a lot of potential for being expanded, but really we're looking for simple user experience. So the students that you'll be working with will have a home institution here that they're going to go to this page and they can say, yep, my home institution is Boise State University. But they want to look for maybe some general education requirements in communication, let's say. What else is offered at other institutions that they could take in that area? Well, there wasn't anything yet. Some of our institutions aren't active. That may have not been the best example, but as you go through and kind of search, whoops. I don't know why, James, oh, here we go. This one, the other two just hadn't loaded from the other institutions yet. So this is a great example of students from Boise State University. And again, all I did was search under Gen Ed. I didn't do the other searches yet. But students who maybe need to take Intro to Computer Science can do so by taking it from Lewis Clark State College. And they can enroll right here from the system, meaning they can be admitted to Lewis Clark State College through an agreement that all the institutions have signed. They can take the course online and receive all the same resources and access that students in that course would otherwise have. And all of the payment is also through Quotely, but is directed back to your institution. So when students go to register for this course, they are actually directed to your institutional login at Boise State for the authentication factors, for the payment factors. So it all is relating back to your information, but it's a great one-stop shop for students. So I just wanted to kind of showcase how students can search here. Again, we don't have a lot of the examples because as I kind of go into some of the other resources, I'll stop sharing my screen for just a moment. As we move into some of the other resources for Online Idaho, one of them that we'll be sharing with you is when all of the institutions open for enrollment. So for example, Boise State's open enrollment date is different than the University of Idaho's open enrollment date. So when students from other institutions or non-degree seeking students essentially can enroll in your courses. So what I'll be sending to Mark and for him to disseminate out to this group as well is information about when all of the institutions' courses will be available and able to be registered for. That's really over the course of November and into December for some of our institutions, but then the courses remain open either until they're filled or until the first day of the course. So we could see registrations all throughout December and January as well. Now that's a lot of information for a platform that we really haven't used before. So as an advisor, I would say, yeah, no, I don't know enough about this. This is totally new to me. But the next piece that I want to share really quick, and again, we'll send this information out to you, is our public Canvas shell, which houses all of the resources for Online Idaho. This is the student view because I'm just an admin on the page, but everything that you would need to learn about Online Idaho is here. But what I'll point out kind of the main resources that I would use as an advisor. All of this is public information, so feel free, like I said, to go through and learn about anything you're interested in. But down here under the section of working groups, you'll see groups like registrars, financial services, and then advisors. So if you're working with students in any of these capacities, you're welcome to say, oh, okay, live training times. I'd like to see a live training of this experience. We did actually do all of our live training times. Those were in October, but we did record them as well. So if we go back, whoops, the wrong one, to recorded trainings, what you'll see here is demos, actually the recorded committee meetings, if you're interested in hearing about what the committee's discussing for Online Idaho, but then specific advisor trainings as well. So you can see what the student view looks like when they register, and you can actually see what it looks like as an administrator in Online Idaho as well. Those are very short videos, so super easy to follow, but the FAQ documents and everything else is also provided in that Canvas shell. So that's a great place if you're maybe not a visual learner, but you'd like to read about it. That's a great place to go as well. James, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
No, I would encourage you all to watch. There's a 5-minute video there that shows the entire student experience start to finish that is probably useful for you all. And then just at a high level, this is a tool that can be used in the interest of student success when a student can't get the class they need at your institution. Maybe it's not offered, maybe it conflicts with another class they need, maybe the class is full. But if you ever have a student who needs a class that you don't have that term, this is an alternative that could potentially keep them on track to graduate and provide an opportunity for them to stay on track or get back on track without needing to delay because of scheduling conflicts. So that's the core use case. And then in the flip side, just for what it's worth, in the interest of the university, we also expect students from other institutions to be coming to Boise State and taking those online classes that Mark's in charge of. That won't be something that you all need to help with, but that is a benefit to your institution, and I think is worth noting. It's a mutual collaboration between the 8 institutions and letting your students take advantage of other opportunities within the state.
I was going to expand, but I see we have a question. Cole, before I...
Yeah, so with this being like a consortium agreement between the colleges and our students being able to go through like our authentication and pay for it, how does it work with like credits and transcripts? Is it like students will still have to send the transcript from the institution that they took the course in, or is it automatically at Boise?
That's a great question. James, I don't know if you want to jump on the tech side where we're at with that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So today, all 8 institutions are still sending transcripts. Going through the process, though, still provides some advantages. So as you said, students can log in with their SSO they can log in with their Boise State account or their CWI account or any of the accounts. They don't have to fill out any forms. The process is all automated for them. And while they still do need to request at this time a transcript send, that we expect that will be improved in the future. And they are reminded to do that. So the system will automatically send some reminders to them once their class is completed, encouraging them to request that transcript be sent.
And there are processes and conversations happening to make that automated, but that is another agreement between not just in the institutions, but third parties, like the transcript offices that use those funds and things like that. So we are starting those conversations because it's absolutely possible that at the end of a term, the system just automatically sends those to the home institution where the student was originally from. So yes, we see the potential in that for sure. And we're talking about that. Haley.
Yeah, so I'm glad Cole asked that because that was one thing I wrote down. And then the second thing I wrote down while you were going through it is I noticed when you were searching for classes, they used the community college, the scientific ways of knowing, the communication ways of knowing. Boise State doesn't use those terms. We use different terms. And I'm just really worried our students are going to get confused and not know what to search for. So is there a way that we can, when they click or search for Boise State as their home institution, we use our like foundation of arts, foundations of communication?
Yeah, absolutely. Haley, I'm going to make a note of that and we will get that fixed ASAP. And thank you for pointing that out. That is absolutely supported. And maybe as aside from that, I'll just point out with that, if you're ever on the SERV system and you see something like that needs correcting, or you have any other questions, right down here on the right is this chat with an expert. This will go to our support team who would be more than happy to take your feedback and or help you with any issues you're having. Now, this will be more sort of technical support. If you have policy questions, things like that, I'd encourage you to talk to Mark, who can work with the Online Idaho committee to answer policy questions. But if you're having a technical issue, you need to find a class, you see something like that, there's a 90-second response time during business hours. So we will get that fixed ASAP, and I will submit that to support right now.
And Haley, I wanted to add as well, when you go to online.idaho.edu, I really appreciate bringing up the gen ed requirements. I'm actually working with the state today to approve the GEM courses that are essentially going to be reviewed for transferring between the systems. So when a student finishes a course, what does that transfer to back at the home institution? So we are still reviewing those requirements and what they're going to be transferred as. So I appreciate you bringing that up. For Boise State, though, using keyword or subject, honestly, the subject has worked really well. That one really goes into, hey, I'm looking for math, I'm looking for accounting, and is more specific anyways. When I was advising, and this may be different at Boise State, but when I was advising, students didn't know what gen ed requirements even meant, let alone those categories and what courses fell into what categories. So any way that the student needs to search is fantastic. But again, thank you for bringing that up. We love the feedback. This is why we wanted to come today. We need that feedback. Joe, go for it.
Yeah, so from what I'm deducing is that this is just making students become non-degree seeking students at a institution. What if there's like a bio 300 class, let's say, because like that being a non-degree seeking student doesn't require having transcripts sent here. How are you doing the authentication that they took all of the prerequisites?
Go for it, James. Sorry, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And this is one of the fun things because each institution in the state is doing that a little bit differently. So some of your peer institutions are not allowing students to take classes with prerequisites at all at this time. Some institutions have implemented a prerequisite check process where the student is uploading documentation at the time of registration. And then the system is facilitating that information being sent to an appropriate contact at the teaching institution. And then they clear those prerequisites. And then some of your peer institutions are testing right now an automated prereq check that actually uses the SIS integration to check the student's academic history at their home institution automatically, and then clear the prerequisite based on that information. That's being tested by a couple of institutions, but your peer institutions. But that experience is going to be a little bit different depending on what institution the student chooses to take a class from. But the system will guide them through it. It'll ask them for exactly what they need, and it should be very straightforward for the student to understand what they need to provide, and they can upload that information right in the form that they'll see on online.idaho.edu.
And a great point, great question. And a great point to that is that each institution was appointed by the president to have a person represented on the Online Idaho Committee. Boise State's is Mark. You see him here today. And so each institution is represented at these different meetings.
This is Joe.
Oh, Joe, I think you're unmuted. Oh, there we go. So really, when we come together, these are decisions made, like the transcripts conversation, and then the prerequisite conversation, as James knows, has been a long conversations, making sure that we're just accommodating to what each institution needs. So that's a great, great question. We are just over our time here, but I wanted to say again, we will be sending out more resources to explore this. This isn't an urgent, we're trying to fill seats. In fact, Online Idaho doesn't support waitlisting. So if a course is full, it disappears from the system. This is definitely just, hey, you need an accounting class. Let's go see if something's available at some other institution in Idaho. So hopefully this is a useful tool. Look forward to more resources, and please reach out if you see something that you want or need in this system. We are completely open to feedback. So please let me, James, or Mark know, and we will get back to you. But thank you so much for having us. James, Mark, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I would just say that Online Idaho is still in its infancy. The offerings that are out there are pretty limited right now, but those will grow over time. There are some technical issues we're still working through, as you can imagine, in something in its early days. And also, these courses aren't free. So if you notice that Lewis Clark State College course, it was a 4-credit course, $1,400. That's a lot of money for our students. So I think in the months going forward, we'll be talking about how can we make this more affordable for our students. I don't know what we'll come up with, but we realize that's an issue.
Thank you very much for all that. Let me know if there are any big enough updates or changes to the process that would warrant another visit in the spring. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, James. All right, last on the agenda, we've got quick 1-minute updates from various advising and student support offices. Let's start up first with NSP.
Thanks. We are just starting to market for our summer 2023 orientation leaders. And part of why we're marketing before the applications open in January is because we have an info session on November 30th. But just a reminder that as long as students are undergraduate degree seeking, they can apply for the role. So we don't need a group of super involved students. There's not one perfect OL, but it's a collective of individuals. And so we really want to represent the students that they'll be serving that are coming through orientation programs. And it takes a whole campus to really help us recruit a strong team. So again, I'll be following up and sending our flyer that has the info session dates. Our info sessions are on Engage as well. And then I also will be sending a recommendation form if you know of some students who are just really committed to creating inclusive environments, committed to working on a team, and also just come ready to learn. Those are some of the core elements. It's not any particular major or anything. If you are from a particular college and benefit from having more students in your college to support your college in the advising and registration realm, then also you might be extra inclined to really recommend some of your students. But really, it just takes a whole campus. So we want to just spread word now as we get ready for our first info session and at the end of this month. And then we'll open applications January 9th to the 23rd. So I'll email everyone those details, but just wanted to do a shout out today as well. Thanks, Tomas.
Thanks, Adriana. Okay, AASC.
I can kick us off. For new student orientation for spring, our virtual program that's coming up in a couple weeks, I just want to do a few friendly reminders. Most of this was shared in our coordinators meeting, but I want to make sure that everybody that is supporting our virtual orientation process, here's the latest to be in the know. So we have our first deadline is tonight at about 10 p.m. And that is for our week 1, so November 28th through December 1st. If you are offering either an event or individual appointments via Slate, deadline is tonight, and RSVP list will be shared tomorrow morning. And then come next week, week 2, so December 5th through December 8th of orientation in Slate. That deadline will happen next Tuesday, the 22nd, with the RSVP list going out on November 23rd. I will ask as a reminder that yes, the deadline is the 22nd, and ideally we're going to have almost everybody in that's going to be in and that we're supporting through the virtual process. However, we know that considering that we're going to be gone, universities going to be closed shortly thereafter, we might have some inbox messages and some voicemails to return to on November 28th, that Monday. So there's going to be a small group between NSP, admissions, and AASC that are coming together to review. So with that in mind, please do not repurpose, remove, or just don't do anything to the open Slate advising appointments. Just keep them where they are. And then I'll also ask on your Google calendars, please don't put anything in those spaces. Please keep that time dedicated and available until further notice. And then my goal is to notify all the colleges at the end of the day on the 28th, if not right away on Tuesday, November 29th, that, hey, we are at the point that nobody else will be added to the Slate process of new student orientation, and that we will pivot and that you can open up that space for continuing students and or students that just didn't quite meet the deadline, but they are a new student. So this is something that's slightly different from summer. We typically don't serve these students and we say, hey, sorry, like we still want you to see them on your normal calendars, but they will still have to wait until open enrollment. If they are in Slate, December 2nd or December 9th for registration, dependent on when they complete advising. If they see you via your normal scheduling systems, December 12th. Any questions? Because I know this is different than what we normally do over summer. Okay, cool. Well, please keep in mind, keep those appointments open and available until you hear that announcement. And if there are any, if you do have availability and there are some last minute messages, we're going to really try to serve as many students as possible through our structured orientation process. So I really appreciate that flexibility there. And for those that have had to already move appointments or add appointments, I really, really appreciate that adaptability and flexibility. And I'm thinking of you. Thanks for jumping in. And then one fun fact, 72 or 75%, almost 76% of students that have completed that intent to enroll that are coming for a spring admit have actually scheduled for new student orientation. So we're looking pretty good. Anything else from AASC?
I'll just quickly hop on with a couple of reminders about the traditional reinstatement process. So if students are seeking reinstatement for the spring through the traditional reinstatement process, deadline is December 1st to submit their application to admissions. We are messaging to students that if they do not complete the process, meeting with us, meeting with their advisor to lift their reinstatement hold by December 16th, that we cannot guarantee enrollment for them for the spring, to hopefully create a little bit of energy and impetus there for them to move through that process, also knowing advisor availability becomes extremely limited. And then the appeals deadline for students seeking immediate reinstatement is going to be Monday, January 9th, 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Coaz, any updates?
Yeah, just one. As y'all prepare for the new students for spring orientation, the first year writing program requests that you email them with any conditional admit requests for English 102. As always, attaching documentation to that email. They request we remind students of the need to send over the official transcript showing that they do have a grade earned, and their email is fywp@boisestate.edu. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Kobe, anything? I'm hearing a silent no. Education?
Nope, nothing new from us. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Engineering?
Nothing, no updates, thanks.
Okay, health sciences? Take that as a no. College of Innovation Design?
I don't have any updates for you, but it occurred to me that I don't think I've had a chance to meet y'all yet. My name is Breland Funderburg and I'm the new advisor over in CID. So nice to meet you. Glad to introduce myself to you.
Welcome.
But yeah, no updates from us.
Cool. All right, except for you, your big update. All right, SPS.
No new updates. Rads are going well.
Awesome, good to hear. Extended studies concurrent enrollment.
No updates from concurrent enrollment.
Okay, last not least, honors. All right, check out what I'm about to do.